Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. A couple of days ago, I did a live stream going over reviews for Dragon Age the Veilguard. And as part of that live stream, I actually reviewed a tweet sent out by Cromwell, head of publishing over at Larian Studios. Now, it's not irregular for different studio heads to congratulate each other when a game comes out, even if technically that game is competition or in their lane. But what I thought was really interesting about his tweet is that he didn't just say, hey, congratulations, Bioware. Instead, he said, hey, I know a lot of you are fans of BG3, and you're going to be wondering whether or not Veilguard is something you would enjoy. Let me tell you some things about Veilguard from the standpoint of someone who was directly involved with creating BG3. I thought that was super cool, and he definitely didn't have to do it. Hopefully it puts some more people Bioware's way, and so I thought it was worth doing a video on, especially since covering that in the live stream also allowed a couple of interesting conversations to develop in the chat that I responded to as well. So hope you all enjoy. Take care. So Cromwell is, I think he's director of publishing for Larian Studios, and he's very active on Twitter. Definitely worth following him. He's got some very interesting perspectives. He went crazy on Ubisoft, but it happened while I was away in Jamaica, so I ended up not doing any content regarding it. And he had some very interesting things to say regarding Veilguard. Let me find that real quick. Oh, here we go. There we go. I've been playing Dragon Age the Veilguard in complete secrecy behind my backpack at the office in front of a giant window in the kitchen. From me, you may be wondering, is this a game compatible with my experience during BG3? So I'll tackle it from that perspective. I thought that was really interesting. The way that he decided to say, hey, I'm not going to try to do a whole review. I'm not going to try to tell you whether or not to buy it, but I have a lot of experience with BG3 and obviously what people like from BG3. So here, let me give you some information from that perspective. I thought that was really freaking cool. Notice between the views is that those who play classic good guys are enjoying it way more than people who play more anti-heroes. Yeah, I definitely feel like that's probably one of the things I'm not going to enjoy about it. It's pretty obvious they don't allow you to be the bad guy, and I appreciate games that allow me to do both. BG3 was the exact same way. Obviously, BG3 is a great game, so it's very possible Veilguard is going to be a great game as well. The answer is yes. Is it compatible with your experience during BG3? It is, to a heavy 9-season long show, what a well-made, character-driven, binge-worthy Netflix series is. It has a good sense of propulsion and forward momentum. The combat system is honestly brilliant to me. A mix of Xenoblade and Hogwarts, which is Giga Brain genius. I've never played Xenoblade. I played Hogwarts, but I don't know what that cross-section is, so I can't comment for you whether or not this comparison he's making makes sense based on what we've seen in the trailers. But maybe some of you in the chat, if you've played Xenoblade before and comment on it, give me your thoughts. It knows when it needs to be a tentpole narrative moment, and it knows when to let you toy around with your class and exploit some of its stronger elements. More important to me, it feels like the first Dragon Age game that truly knows what it wants to be. That's an interesting statement. In short, if you want some character-driven romping with a strong combat system in a universe you know, love, or have heard of, it is much better than the average action game, and much less heavy than the gargantuan RPGs that may intimidate at times. Right, so from what I've read, it seems like Veilguard is more in the realm of like 60 hours, as opposed to the 150 hour games that we had in previous Dragon Ages, which is interesting and honestly a choice that I might enjoy, because there were definitely times when I felt like previous Dragon Age games were bloated. Inquisition absolutely had all those quests that felt like MMO basically, and you were doing the same thing over and over again. Dragon Age 2 had a ton of quests where you pick up some random item, magically know who it's supposed to go to, and then you search around and find that person and drop it off, and then they say something real quick and you move on. It felt terrible, and I easily would have been okay with them removing all of that and giving me a smaller game. Origins was very, very similar, where they had a lot of faction quests that really had no story content, really were just fetch quests, purposeless, and you spent a ton of time searching all across the map to try to figure out how to resolve them. So I do not automatically see 60 hours instead of 100 hours as a bad thing, for sure. Let's play Origins, and I would say DA3 and Dragon Age game are somewhat dissimilar, since Dragon Age is a reconstruction and commentary on the type of RPG a D&D game is. But the thing is, if you compare Origins and BG3, you're right. But if you go to 2 and then especially Inquisition, the comparison is much closer. So it's not the same. I'm buying a game for only one playthrough determined by the developers. Yeah, you know, it seems like they want to push you into the good guy role. So the question becomes, do they have enough other things in the game that make that give you a sense of replayability, right? It doesn't seem like being able to carve out your Rook's personality is really a part of the campaign. Instead, I assume there are supposed to be other things that are going to pull you back and make you want to do it again. Or it could be a game that's just really meant to be played once. You play it once, it's a great time, and then you move on. I know some people hate to hear me say that, but that's almost the way I feel about Baldur's Gate 3. Because the evil campaigns are so lacking in comparison, I feel like you can get 1, maybe 2 playthroughs, at the most 3. Like, I'm going to play it a third time, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. But I definitely don't see it on the same level as like a Wrath of the Righteous, where I can play that game again and again and again and again, and it's going to feel like a very different experience every single time. I heard there's 3 different flavors of good gesture. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with the sarcastic route, because I saw in Skilla's video when he tried to do the stern and hardcore route, like the dialogue options just feel off. It's obvious. They want you to either be the noble guy or the funny guy. So I'll just be the funny guy, and then I won't have to worry about that. In a word, it's fun. To me, I'm extremely happy Bioware gets to stick around, presumably, in these uncertain times, because of moronic corporate greed times. An existential game, and a fun one at that. So one of the things I really appreciate about Croms and following him is that I feel like he always goes to bat for developers. And developers both big and small. It's obvious Larian wants to position itself as someone who kind of calls out negative publisher practices. They have a lot of experience with that, and so they want to see it stop in the industry. And it's pretty obvious as well, they want to play a part in helping more devs survive and to stop the bleeding and stop all of these mass numbers of developers being laid off. I think all of that is super noble. I really appreciate it. You don't see a lot of major voices standing up like that and trying to say, hey, you know, these practices don't really make sense. This is not good business. And so definitely, once again, I think he's someone who's well worth following. Now, somebody mentioned, and he's asked deeper questions about this, but makes it clear he doesn't want to go into depth because he's not a critic and he doesn't want to influence anyone's decision to buy or not. So again, it's cool. I feel like he's just trying to give you that Baldur's Gate 3 view of the overall game.